So what are you, an E3? E4? What rank gets to stand in my control room? Admiral Warren Kessler delivers the question with a smile that never reaches his eyes. His voice carries across the entire control room, designed to land exactly where he wants it, on the woman in plain technician coveralls, standing near the VAC console. 15 people freeze. Keyboards stop clicking. The hum of monitoring equipment becomes the only sound as every head turns toward the target of the Admiral's amusement. The woman does not flinch. She stands at 5'7", brown hair pulled back in a regulation bun. No visible insignia except a small rectangular outline pressing against the fabric of her chest pocket. Her hands rest at her sides, fingers relaxed in a way that speaks of 10,000 hours of training. Her eyes move across the Admiral's face with the patience of someone who has waited in far worse conditions than this. Chief Petty Officer Harper Lane, call sign Saint, absorbs the insult the same way she once absorbed shrapnel. Quietly, completely, without changing expression. I am here to make sure no one dies today, Admiral. Her voice carries no anger, no defensiveness, just fact, delivered with the same inflection one might use to report water temperature or wind speed. Kessler's smile widens. He is 53 years old, silver eagles gleaming on his collar, master of a training program worth $47 million in annual funding. Today's demonstration will secure next year's budget. Today's success will move him one step closer to a third star. Today, nothing will interrupt his moment. Make sure no one dies, he repeats, turning to his staff with eyebrows raised. Did anyone order a safety consultant? I thought we had protocols for this. Scattered laughter ripples through the room. A junior officer near the main display snickers. A civilian contractor in the corner smirks into his coffee cup. Harper remains motionless. Her right thumb brushes against her thigh once, a gesture so small only someone watching for it would notice. She learned this in the mountains of eastern Afghanistan, pressed against frozen rock while enemy patrols passed 15 meters away. Movement attracts attention. Stillness survives. Kessler opens his mouth to continue the performance, but the main door swings open with a hydraulic hiss. 3 figures enter in sequence. The first wears army green with 3 stars on each shoulder. Major General Mason Griggs moves with the deliberate economy of a career ground commander, gray at his temples, lines carved deep around his eyes from decades of squinting at terrain maps and casualty reports. The second wears Air Force blue. Major General Alana Ross steps through with the precise posture of someone who spent her early career in fighter cockpits, her gaze already scanning the room, cataloging personnel and equipment with the speed of a pilot checking instruments before takeoff. The third wears marine dress. Major General Diego Ramirez fills the doorway for a moment, broad shoulders and barrel chest, a man who rose through infantry ranks and never forgot what it meant to carry a rifle instead of a briefing folder. All 3 stop at the same instant. All 3 see the woman in technician coveralls, and all 3 snap to attention, right hands rising in perfect unison to render a salute. The room temperature drops 10 degrees. Kessler's smile dies on his face. His coffee cup hovers halfway to his lips, suspended in confusion. The junior officer who snickered moments ago now stares with mouth hanging open. Harper returns the salute with crisp formality, holding it for exactly the correct duration before lowering her hand. Generals, Chief Lane, General Ramirez's voice rumbles like distant artillery. Did not expect to find you here. Reassignment, sir? Risk assessment for special training operations. Kessler's cup completes its journey to a nearby console, set down with excessive care. His eyes move between Harper and the 3 generals, calculations running visibly behind his expression. Wait, hold on. He steps forward, one hand raised as if stopping traffic. She is... You are saluting her? General Ross turns toward the Admiral with the cool patience of someone explaining flight physics to a nervous passenger. Admiral Kessler, are you not aware of who you have in your facility? She said she was here for safety assessment. Nobody told me. CPO Harper Lane. General Griggs delivers the information like a tactical briefing. Medal of Honor recipient. Operation Burning Ridge 21 months ago. Single-handedly extracted 11 wounded personnel from a collapsed tunnel system while under sustained enemy fire. 4 hours in zero visibility conditions. 3 confirmed saves that should have been impossible. The silence that follows is not theatrical. It is the kind of quiet that happens when reality rearranges itself without warning. Kessler's jaw works soundlessly. His staff exchange glances loaded with sudden understanding. The civilian contractor in the corner has stopped smirking entirely. Harper speaks before the moment stretches too long. With respect, Admiral, we have a safety concern that requires attention. Kessler blinks. His brain still processes the whiplash of the last 30 seconds. From delivering insults to receiving information that reframes everything. A Medal of Honor recipient stands in his control room. 3 generals saluted her before acknowledging him. And she is asking about safety. What safety concern? Harper moves to the main display with steps that waste no motion. Her finger traces across the schematic of the underwater rescue simulation system, a maze of tunnels, pressure chambers, and automated locks designed to replicate hostile extraction scenarios. 3 items, sir. First, the water level sensors on tunnel section Bravo have been recalibrated within the last 72 hours. The new settings allow for 12% higher volume before triggering overflow alerts. She taps the display. A graph appears showing calibration history. Second, the emergency lock system has been switched from demonstration mode to operational mode. In demo mode, the locks simulate resistance but release with minimal pressure. In operational mode, they require full hydraulic override to open. Another tap. Status indicators glow red where they should glow green. Third, the secondary drainage conduit shows fresh adhesive residue around the main coupling. Someone replaced the sealant within the last 48 hours. Standard maintenance schedules do not call for that replacement until next quarter. She turns to face Kessler. Her expression remains neutral, but her eyes miss nothing. Individually, each item has an explanation. Together, they suggest either significant procedural breakdown or intentional preparation for an incident that should not occur during a controlled demonstration. General Ross moves closer to the display, studying the data with narrowed eyes. Her experience with flight safety investigations makes her fluent in the language of near misses and catastrophic failures. She is right. These readings are inconsistent with standard pre-demonstration protocols. Kessler's face cycles through several colors. Today represents months of preparation. Today determines funding. Today, 3 generals will watch his program succeed and carry that success back to the Pentagon. Today cannot be delayed by the concerns of someone who showed up in technician coveralls and received salutes he did not expect. Chief Lane, his voice finds its footing again, steadier now, wrapped in the armor of rank and authority. I appreciate your thoroughness, but we have run 67 demonstrations through this system without incident. Our technicians certified everything operational this morning. Perhaps your background makes you overcautious. Harper's thumb brushes her thigh again. One small movement, one measure of control. Admiral, I am recommending a 20-minute delay to physically verify these 3 items. If everything checks out, we proceed as scheduled. If not, we identify the issue before trainees enter the system. 20 minutes, Kessler laughs, but the sound carries an edge. 3 generals flew in from Washington for this demonstration. Funding review happens next week, and you want me to delay because some numbers look unusual to you? I want you to delay because those numbers suggest the system may not perform as expected when lives are inside it. General Ramirez shifts his weight. He has heard the call sign SAINT in briefings, in after-action reports, in the quiet conversations that happen when operators discuss the ones who came back from places no one should survive. He knows what it costs to earn that name. Admiral, perhaps the delay makes sense. 20 minutes is not, with respect, General. Kessler cuts in with a smile that resembles apology, but carries none of its substance. This is my facility. These are my systems. I have certified staff who understand every pressure valve and emergency protocol. Chief Lane's record is impressive, but she is not a systems engineer. He gestures toward the observation window. Beyond the glass, the entrance to the underwater simulation complex waits. A 3-story structure of reinforced chambers, water locks, and controlled flooding zones designed to push trainees to their limits. We are on schedule. Let us stay on schedule. Harper holds his gaze for 3 seconds. In those 3 seconds, she sees the calculation behind his confidence, budget pressures, career timelines. The particular blindness that comes from wanting something too much. She has seen this before. In commanders who pushed convoys through suspected ambush zones because delay meant explanation. In officers who dismissed intelligence because accepting it meant changing plans. In leaders who confused authority with infallibility. Understood, Admiral. The words come without inflection. She steps back from the display, returns to her position near the rear console. Her hand rests on the edge of a panel that controls backup communications, a position she chose deliberately when she arrived this morning. General Ross catches her eye. A question passes between them, silent and complete. Harper gives a fractional shake of her head. Not yet, not enough. The demonstration will proceed. And Harper will watch. And if the numbers she found mean what she believes they mean, she will be ready. If you want to see how this situation unfolds, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. You will not want to miss what happens next. Kessler claps his hands together. Energy restored, performance resumed. All right, people, let us show our guests what the future of rescue training looks like. The observation room fills with purposeful movement. Technicians confirm console readings. Operators verify communication channels. A safety officer runs through the standard checklist with the same mechanical efficiency he has used for every previous demonstration. Through the observation window, 6 trainees emerge from the preparation area. They wear specialized immersion suits, each one equipped with biometric monitors and emergency beacons. Their ages range from 22 to 28, young enough to believe in their own invincibility, experienced enough to know they are about to be tested. Harper studies each one. She sees the nervous energy in the way they adjust their gear, the glances they exchange, the way their fingers check and recheck seals and buckles. 6 people who trust that the system they are entering has been designed to challenge them without killing them. She hopes they are right. The lead trainee is a woman named Specialist Coleman, 24 years old, compact build, competitive fire visible in her stance. Behind her, 5 men arrange themselves in entry order. Davis, Thornton, Webb, Cassidy, and Huang. 6 lives preparing to enter a flooded maze on the promise that every failsafe will function exactly as designed. Simulation team, this is Control. The safety officer's voice broadcasts through the facility speakers. You are cleared for entry. Standard rescue scenario. Locate the objective. Navigate extraction route. Surface at the designated recovery point. Time limit is 45 minutes. Acknowledge. Specialist Coleman responds. Control, simulation team copies. Ready to proceed. Entry in 30 seconds. Good luck. The 6 trainees move toward the main lock. Water glistens on the metal surfaces, residue from the flooding tests conducted earlier. The lock door stands open, revealing a corridor that slopes downward into regulated darkness. Harper's attention divides between the trainees and the console in front of her. The backup communication panel shows nominal readings, green indicators confirming signal strength to each trainee's emergency beacon. She opens a secondary monitoring window and watches the water level sensors for tunnel section Bravo. The numbers hold steady, for now. Kessler stands near the main observation window, positioned so the generals can see both his confident posture and the demonstration unfolding beyond the glass. He narrates the action with the polish of someone who has given this presentation many times. The system replicates conditions our personnel encounter in real-world rescue operations. Collapsed structures, limited visibility, water intrusion, communication disruption. Traditional training cannot reproduce these stressors effectively. Our approach immerses trainees in scenarios that feel genuinely dangerous while maintaining complete control over every variable. General Griggs nods, attention fixed on the trainees disappearing into the lock. General Ross continues studying the monitoring displays, her expression unreadable. General Ramirez stands with arms crossed, a posture that could indicate approval or skepticism, depending on interpretation. 2 minutes pass. The trainees navigate the first corridor section, their positions tracked by blinking indicators on the facility schematic. Voice communications confirm progress, steady, professional, controlled. Team is approaching Junction Alpha, taking right branch toward objective marker. Harper watches the water level sensors, still nominal, still within expected ranges. She allows herself one small breath of hope that her concerns will prove unfounded, that the anomalies she identified were maintenance oversights rather than something worse. 3 minutes. The trainees reach the first flooding chamber. Water rises according to programmed schedules, climbing their legs as they push toward the far exit. Biometric monitors show elevated heart rates, expected under stress, but nothing outside acceptable parameters. Flooding chamber 1, traversing now, water at chest level, all team members maintaining position. Kessler beams. The demonstration proceeds exactly as designed. The generals watch with appropriate interest. His future shines bright and predictable. 3 minutes and 20 seconds. The first anomaly appears. Harper sees it before anyone else. A flicker in the water level reading for Tunnel Bravo, a number that jumps 3 percentage points in a single refresh cycle. She leans forward, fingers poised over the backup communication controls. 3 minutes and 40 seconds. The emergency lock indicators on tunnel section Bravo flash from green to amber. 3 minutes and 45 seconds. They flash from amber to red. The main display erupts with warning notifications. Audio alarms slice through the observation room. Technicians spin toward their consoles, hands suddenly uncertain on familiar controls. Control, this is simulation team. We have a situation. The lock just closed behind us. Specialist Coleman's voice carries the first edge of real concern. Behind her words, Harper hears the sound of water. Not the controlled rise of a programmed scenario, but the rushing inflow of a system that has stopped pretending. Control, water is rising faster than expected, well above knee level already. What is happening? Kessler stares at the warning lights as if they have personally betrayed him. His mouth opens and closes without producing sound. The carefully prepared narrative of his demonstration dissolves into something he never scripted. That is not possible. The fail-safes, Admiral, the fail-safes require manual override. General Ross moves toward the main console, her voice cutting through the confusion with surgical precision. Who has authorization codes? The safety officer scrambles through his tablet. Override codes they are logged with the duty technician. Jenkins. Jenkins called in sick this morning. A junior operator delivers the information with the hollow tone of someone realizing the implications as she speaks. His backup has the codes, but she is in Building 7 for equipment certification. The communication channel crackles. Specialist Coleman again. Controlled panic now audible beneath her professionalism. Control, water is at chest level. Lock is not responding to manual release. Team is moving toward the emergency exit, but wait, that lock is closed too. Both locks are closed. We are sealed in. Kessler finds his voice, but it emerges stripped of its earlier confidence. Get someone down there. Get the codes. Get... Admiral. Harper's voice cuts through the chaos with the flat authority of someone who has managed crises in places far less forgiving than a training facility. How long until water reaches the ceiling in that section? He stares at her. The question forces him to acknowledge what his mind desperately wants to reject. Standard flooding rate would give them 20 minutes. But if the system is malfunctioning, it is not malfunctioning. Harper moves toward the main console, her steps carrying the inevitability of a force that will not be delayed. The system is doing exactly what someone programmed it to do. The question is whether we stop it in time. General Ramirez steps aside to let her pass. His hand rests briefly on her shoulder. Acknowledgement, permission, and trust compressed into a single gesture. What do you need, Chief? Harper's eyes move across the console displays with the speed of someone reading terrain under fire. Numbers, indicators, schematics. She processes them all simultaneously, building a mental map of a crisis that grows worse by the second. I need someone to locate the manual valve control for Tunnel Bravo. Physical location, not remote access. There should be an access panel in Maintenance Corridor 3. On it, a technician breaks from his station and sprints toward the door. I need communication restored to the team. The signal loss is artificial. Someone cut the internal relay. Backup channel Delta should still function if we route through the emergency beacon network. She enters commands into the backup panel she positioned herself near an hour ago. The console responds to her inputs as if recognizing a familiar user. I need the Admiral to authorize emergency drainage protocols. Every second we delay, the water rises another 2 inches. Kessler remains frozen. The scope of the catastrophe pins him to his position, like a specimen under glass. His demonstration has become a potential tragedy. His career, his funding, his carefully constructed future, all of it drowns in the same water that threatens 6 lives. General Ross places herself directly in his line of sight. Admiral Kessler, authorize the drainage protocols, now. The command in her voice snaps something loose. He blinks, nods, stumbles toward the main console. Authorized. Drainage is authorized. All emergency measures are authorized. Harper does not wait for him to complete the sentence. Her fingers fly across the controls, executing commands that should empty the compromised section in less than 8 minutes. But the system resists. Error messages populate the screen. Drainage pumps report offline status. Manual overrides request codes that no one in the room possesses. Someone built this carefully. Harper speaks to no one and everyone simultaneously. Every backup has a backup. Every failsafe has been failed. The communication channel bursts back to life. Harper's workaround through the beacon network. Control, this is Coleman. Water is at shoulder level. We have approximately 4 minutes before we lose headroom. Please advise. General Griggs leans toward the microphone. Simulation team, this is General Griggs. Rescue operations are underway. Maintain position and conserve air. Help is coming. Harper studies the schematic one final time. The manual valve in Maintenance Corridor 3 offers the best option if the technician reaches it in time. But the corridor is 200 meters from the control room, down 3 flights of stairs, through a section of the facility designed for minimal traffic. Technician Peters, status on manual valve access. The response comes through a handheld radio, breathless and strained. Corridor 3 is locked. Security protocols engage. I need a code or a crowbar. Of course, whoever designed this scenario anticipated every response. Harper looks at the observation window. Beyond the glass, the entrance to the underwater complex offers a second option: direct access to the flooded section. It would require someone to enter the water, navigate the compromised corridors, and manually release the locks from inside. It would require someone who has done exactly this before. Admiral, she turns to Kessler, her voice carrying no judgment, no accusation, only the practical reality of a decision that must be made. Your demonstration has become a rescue operation. The only fast access to that section is through the water. His face drains of remaining color. You cannot be suggesting. I am not suggesting. I am informing you of what happens next. General Ramirez moves to her side. His voice drops to a register meant for her alone. Saint, this is not Afghanistan. You do not have to. 6 people, General. She meets his eyes with the calm of someone who made peace with this mathematics long ago. 4 minutes of air. 1 way in. She reaches into her chest pocket and removes the Medal of Honor that has rested there since she arrived. The blue ribbon and gold star catch the overhead lights as she places them on the nearest console. Hold this for me. If it goes wrong, you already have the story. She is moving before anyone can object, through the observation room door, down the access corridor, toward the preparation area where specialized equipment waits. Harper reaches the equipment station in under 90 seconds. Her hands move with automatic precision, selecting gear that she has used in conditions far worse than a controlled training environment. Mask, fins, weight belt, dive light. Each item attaches to her body with the efficiency of 10,000 previous repetitions. A young equipment specialist watches her with wide eyes. Ma'am, standard protocols require buddy system for any water entry. I can find someone to... No time. Harper seals her mask and tests the regulator. Tell control I am entering through the main lock in 60 seconds. Have them monitor my beacon. But ma'am, she is already moving, leaving the specialist with an unfinished sentence and a story he will tell for the rest of his career. The main lock stands open, water pooling on its metal floor from the compromised systems beyond. Emergency lights cast red patterns across the surfaces, painting everything in the color of crisis. Harper pauses at the threshold for exactly 2 seconds. In those seconds, she sees another doorway, another flooded space, another set of lives depending on her ability to navigate darkness and pressure and the mathematics of limited air. She feels the weight of a dog tag that hangs against her chest. Not her own, but one she carries in memory of the person she could not save. Her fiancé died on Operation Burning Ridge. Not in the tunnel collapse, but in the extraction afterward, when his injuries proved more severe than the medics could manage with the equipment available. She saved 11 others that night. She could not save the one who mattered most. Some debts cannot be repaid. They can only be carried forward. Harper enters the lock. Water rises around her legs as she advances into the first corridor. The temperature registers at 58 degrees, cold enough to slow her reactions if she stays submerged too long, warm enough to avoid immediate hypothermia. She has worked in worse. The corridor slopes downward at a 12-degree angle. Her dive light cuts through water that grows murkier as she descends. Disturbed silt reducing visibility to arm's length. She navigates by memory and touch, her free hand trailing along the wall to maintain orientation. Her beacon pulses steadily. Somewhere above, the control room tracks her position. She hopes they understand what she needs them to understand. That she is not here to perform a rescue. She is here to create the conditions that make rescue possible. The first lock appears ahead, sealed tight, red indicator glowing through the murky water. Harper reaches the control panel and examines it with the beam of her light. Standard electromagnetic release, dependent on power that someone has strategically interrupted. Manual override requires simultaneous activation of two release levers positioned 3 meters apart, a safety feature designed to prevent accidental opening. One person cannot operate it alone, unless that person understands the system better than its designers intended. Harper removes her weight belt and wedges it against the first lever, creating sustained pressure. She swims to the second lever, positions herself, and pulls with the leverage of her entire body. The mechanism resists for 3 seconds before metal groans and the lock begins to rise. Water rushes through the widening gap, equalizing pressure between sections. Harper holds her position until the lock clears, then retrieves her belt and continues through. The second corridor is fully submerged. No air pockets remain. She checks her regulator, confirms air supply, and advances with kicks that conserve energy while maintaining speed. Behind her, the compromised system continues its work. Water flows through channels that should be sealed. Pumps that should be draining remain silent. Every backup has failed because every backup was designed to fail. She finds the second lock 40 meters ahead. Same configuration, same electromagnetic release, same 2-lever requirement. She repeats her improvised solution, feeling the strain in her shoulders as she forces the mechanism open. Beyond the second lock, the corridor opens into the main flooding chamber. And there, pressed against the ceiling in the last pocket of breathable air, 6 trainees fight to keep their faces above rising water. Everyone hold position. Harper surfaces into the pocket, removing her regulator to speak. Water splashes her chin as the level continues to climb. "I am Chief Lane. I am here to get you out." Specialist Coleman stares at his senior with the expression of someone who has just witnessed the impossible. "How did you—" "The locks were sealed. No one could—" "The locks are open now. Follow me in sequence. Maintain contact with the person in front of you. We have approximately 90 seconds before this section is fully submerged." Davis, the youngest of the group, shakes his head rapidly. "I cannot. I am not trained for extended submersion. My air—" Harper removes her regulator and places it in his hands. "Breathe. 2 breaths, then pass it to the person behind you. We share, we survive, we move." She does not wait for acknowledgement. The water rises another inch as she ducks beneath the surface and begins leading the way back through the corridor she just navigated. 6 trainees follow in a chain, hands gripping shoulders of the person ahead, one regulator passing between them in disciplined rotation. The system that tried to trap them becomes the pathway to their survival as Harper guides them through open locks and equalized passages. The journey takes 4 minutes and 30 seconds, an eternity measured in shared breaths and burning lungs. They surface in the main lock as the water level finally begins to drop. The technician in Corridor 3 finally reached the manual valve, finally found a way past the security locks, finally did his part in a rescue that required every piece to function. Kessler waits at the lock entrance, face pale, hands trembling. Harper emerges last, pulling herself onto the metal platform with arms that feel the weight of every second she spent underwater. She breathes in gasps that gradually slow as oxygen returns to her system. The 6 trainees collapse around her, coughing, shivering, alive. General Ramirez appears with a thermal blanket that he drapes across Harper's shoulders. His hand rests there for a moment longer than necessary. "Saint, General, you did it again." She looks up at him with eyes that carry exhaustion and something else. The particular sadness of someone who has saved everyone except the one person who mattered most. The system was sabotaged. Someone built this to fail. "We know." General Ross approaches, tablet in hand, expression grim. Admiral Kessler has some explaining to do. Kessler stands frozen near the lock entrance, watching Harper with an expression that mixes horror, shame, and dawning comprehension. The woman he mocked as a low-ranking intruder just saved 6 lives in his facility, lives endangered by systems that operated under his command. I did not know." His voice cracks. "I did not know any of this would—" "Admiral." Harper rises to her feet, blanket falling from her shoulders. Water drips from her coveralls, pooling on the metal floor. "The time for knowing is over. Now is the time for telling." She steps toward him with the measured pace of someone who has earned the right to demand answers. "Someone modified your system. Someone changed your fail-safes. Someone turned your demonstration into a death trap. You need to ask yourself, Who had access? Who had motive? And what else they might have planned? Kessler's mouth opens and closes. The truth he has avoided for weeks, perhaps months, rises in his throat like bile. But before he can speak, a technician bursts through the access corridor, face flushed with discovery. "We found something in the flooding chamber, something that should not be there." Harper turns. Her instincts, never fully quiet, spike with renewed alertness. "Show me." The technician leads them back toward the observation room, where monitors now display recovery footage from the drained flooding chamber. The image centers on an object lodged in a structural recess. A black waterproof case, approximately the size of a briefcase, secured with combination locks. That is not training equipment. General Griggs studies the image with narrowed eyes. What is it? Harper examines the footage. Her mind processes the implications at combat speed. A case, hidden in a flooding chamber, positioned to be carried away by water flow if the system had operated as sabotaged. A case designed to disappear in a tragedy that would have claimed 6 lives and generated endless investigation into equipment failure. That, she says quietly, is the reason 6 people almost died. She turns to Kessler. The Admiral has gone gray, his eyes fixed on the screen, his body rigid with recognition. "Admiral, you know what that is." The words are not a question. Kessler's silence stretches for 5 seconds. 10. 15. In that silence, Harper reads everything she needs to know. The way his eyes flicker toward the exit. The way his hands clench and unclench at his sides. The way his breathing shifts from controlled to ragged. He recognizes the case. More than recognizes. He fears it. "Admiral," General Ross steps forward, her voice carrying the precision of someone who has conducted countless accident investigations. "You have approximately 30 seconds to start explaining before I make a call that ends your career regardless of what you say." Kessler's jaw tightens. The calculation behind his eyes becomes visible, weighing options, measuring consequences, searching for an exit that does not exist. "I did not know it would go this far." The words emerge like pressure escaping a compromised seal. Once they start, they cannot stop. 6 months ago, a contractor approached me, said he could reduce costs on the simulation system by 18%. 18%. Do you understand what that means for a program fighting for funding every fiscal year? General Griggs crosses his arms. Continue. He asked for access, equipment specifications, maintenance schedules, security protocols. I thought he was optimizing. I thought he was finding efficiencies. Kessler's voice cracks. I signed off on modifications I did not fully understand because the numbers looked right and the budget committee was breathing down my neck. Harper moves closer to the monitor displaying the case. Her mind assembles the pieces into a picture that grows darker with each detail. The case, Admiral. What is in the case? Kessler closes his eyes. When he opens them again, something has shifted. The desperate calculation replaced by the hollow resignation of a man watching his world collapse. Contracts, documentation, the original specifications alongside the modified versions. If anyone compared them, they would see exactly what was changed and who authorized each change. He pauses, including signatures that do not belong to me. General Ramirez steps forward. Forged authorizations? I do not know, maybe. Or maybe someone used my credentials without my knowledge. The case was supposed to disappear if anything went wrong. A training accident, 6 casualties, endless investigation into equipment failure, and the evidence that could prove deliberate sabotage would be gone, washed out to a recovery point that only certain people knew about. The room absorbs this information in stages. First confusion, then comprehension, then cold fury. General Ross pulls out her phone. I am calling Naval Criminal Investigative Service. This facility is now a crime scene. Wait. Harper's voice cuts through the escalating tension. Before anyone makes calls, we need that case. Everything else is accusation. The case is evidence. She turns to the recovery team visible on the monitor. Bring it up. Do not open it. Do not damage it. Do not let it out of camera view until it reaches this room. The team leader acknowledges. On screen, 2 technicians carefully extract the case from its hiding place, handling it with the reverence reserved for unexploded ordnance. Kessler watches the process with the expression of a man attending his own execution. Chief Lane, his voice drops to barely above a whisper. I owe you an apology. Harper does not turn around. Her attention remains fixed on the monitor. You owe those 6 trainees an apology. You owe your staff an apology, You owe every person who trusted this program an apology. She pauses. What you owe me is the truth, all of it, starting with who approached you 6 months ago. The case arrives in the observation room, carried by 2 technicians in protective gloves. They place it on the central console, and the room arranges itself around it like witnesses to an autopsy. General Griggs examines the combination locks. Standard contractor security, 4-digit codes. Any idea what the combination might be? Kessler shakes his head. I never knew. I was not supposed to know. The whole point was deniability. Harper studies the case for a moment. Then she reaches into her pocket and removes a small toolkit, the kind carried by personnel trained to access secured equipment in field conditions. May I? General Ross nods. Carefully. The locks yield to Harper's tools in under 2 minutes. She does not force them. She reads them, feeling the mechanism's feedback through her fingertips, applying pressure in sequences that would seem random to anyone who had not spent years learning how objects surrender their secrets. The case opens. Inside, arranged with meticulous organization, lies the anatomy of a conspiracy, folders color-coded by category. Original specification documents marked with official stamps. Modified versions showing the same stamps but different content. Authorization forms bearing signatures that appear identical until examined closely. Financial records showing payments routed through shell companies with names that exist only on paper. And at the bottom, sealed in a waterproof sleeve, a single photograph. Harper lifts the photograph and studies it. 3 men standing in front of a building she does not recognize, shaking hands with the easy familiarity of longtime associates. One of them wears contractor credentials visible on his lanyard. Another wears the uniform of a Navy captain, Kessler's rank 18 months ago, before his promotion to Admiral. The third man wears civilian clothes, but carries himself with military bearing. Admiral, Harper holds up the photograph. Who are these men? Kessler's face goes white. Whatever remaining color he possessed drains away as he recognizes the image. That is Marcus Webb, the contractor, and the other one is... He stops, swallows, forces himself to continue. The other one is someone I was told never to mention. Someone with connections that go higher than this program, higher than this base, higher than anyone in this room can touch. General Ross takes the photograph from Harper's hand. Her expression hardens as she examines it. I know this man. He testified before a congressional committee last year, Defense Procurement Oversight. She looks up at Kessler. You are telling me he is involved in sabotaging a training system that nearly killed 6 people. I am telling you, I do not know exactly what he is involved in. I am telling you, he scared me enough that I stopped asking questions. I am telling you that case was supposed to disappear today, and if it had, no one would ever connect the dots. Harper takes the folder of financial records and begins scanning the contents. Numbers arrange themselves into patterns. Payments flow from accounts with innocuous names to accounts with no names at all. Dates align with modification authorizations. Amounts match invoices that describe work never performed. This is not just about your program, Admiral. This is systematic. These routing patterns suggest multiple projects, multiple facilities, multiple opportunities for equipment to fail at convenient moments. She hands the folder to General Griggs. Someone is building a business model around controlled disasters. Create the conditions for accidents, ensure the evidence disappears, collect insurance, or avoid accountability for cost-cutting that crosses the line into criminal negligence. The weight of her words settles over the room. What began as a training demonstration gone wrong now reveals itself as something far larger. A network of corruption that uses military personnel as acceptable losses. General Ramirez's voice drops to a dangerous register. How many other facilities? How many other programs? Unknown. Harper meets his eyes. But this case gives us a starting point. Names, accounts, methods, enough to begin unraveling whatever this is. Kessler stands apart from the group, shoulders hunched. The architecture of his authority collapsed around him. He watches Harper move through the evidence with the efficiency of someone who has done this before, not in courtrooms or investigation offices, but in the field, where understanding the enemy's network meant the difference between mission success and body bags. Chief Lane, she does not look up from the documents. Admiral, I need you to understand something. His voice carries the rawness of a confession, offered without expectation of absolution. When I made that joke about your rank this morning, I thought I was dealing with someone who did not belong in my control room. someone who would complicate my demonstration with unnecessary concerns. Harper continues examining the financial records. And now I understand that you were the only person in this room who saw what was actually happening. You tried to warn me. You identified the exact points of failure. And when I dismissed you, when I prioritized my career over your concerns, you still went into that water and saved 6 lives. He steps closer, close enough that Harper can see the moisture gathering at the corners of his eyes. I have spent 23 years building a reputation, promotions, commendations, the respect of people I admired. And in the space of one morning, I watched it all become worthless compared to what you did with no rank visible and no recognition expected. Harper finally looks up. Her expression holds no triumph, no satisfaction, only the patient understanding of someone who knows that some lessons can only be learned through failure. Admiral, I did not come here for recognition. I came here because someone I loved died when systems failed, and people in charge ignored warnings. Every day I put on this uniform, every facility I assess, every demonstration I observe, I carry his memory with me. I promised myself that what happened to him would never happen to anyone else if I could prevent it. She sets down the folder and faces Kessler fully. You made a mistake, several mistakes. You let fear and ambition cloud your judgment. You trusted people who did not deserve trust, and you almost got 6 people killed. Her voice softens by a degree, but you are still standing here. You have a choice about what happens next. Kessler's throat works. What choice? You can try to minimize your involvement, blame subordinates, claim ignorance, lawyer up, and fight for whatever fragment of your career might be salvageable. Harper pauses. Or you can do what you should have done 6 months ago. Tell the truth. All of it. Help us understand how deep this goes and who else is involved. Accept the consequences of your actions and use whatever credibility you have left to ensure this never happens again. The observation room falls silent. Every person present understands the weight of the moment. A career officer standing at the intersection of self-preservation and accountability with the full attention of 3 generals and a Medal of Honor recipient awaiting his decision. Kessler looks at the case, at the documents, at the photograph that connects him to people who built their success on the foundation of acceptable casualties. When he speaks, his voice carries the particular quality of someone stepping off a cliff with no certainty about the landing. I will tell you everything. Names, dates, conversations, every piece of information I have. I will testify to whatever authorities need my testimony, and I will accept whatever punishment my cooperation does not mitigate. He turns to the 3 generals, standing at something approaching attention, despite the circumstances. I have failed the people under my command. I have failed the standards I swore to uphold, and I have failed myself in ways that I will spend the rest of my life trying to understand. His voice cracks but does not break. I am sorry. That word is inadequate, but it is the only one I have. General Ross studies him for a long moment. Her expression reveals nothing of her internal assessment. Admiral Kessler, you are hereby relieved of command pending formal investigation. You will remain on base under supervision until NCIS arrives to take your statement. Your cooperation will be noted in the official record. Kessler nods. Understood. One more thing. General Ross's voice sharpens. The 6 trainees who almost died today. You will apologize to each of them personally. You will look them in the eyes and explain how your choices put them in that water. And you will do it before the end of this day. For a moment, Kessler looks like he might object, the reflexive resistance of someone who has spent decades giving orders rather than receiving them. But the moment passes, his shoulders lower in acceptance. Yes, General. 2 security officers escort him from the observation room. The door closes behind him with the finality of a chapter ending. Harper watches him go. Whatever satisfaction she might feel is tempered by the understanding that Kessler is one node in a larger network, a network that remains operational despite today's exposure. General Ramirez approaches Harper with the careful respect of someone addressing an equal rather than a subordinate. Saint, what you did today, in the water and in this room, I want you to know it will not be forgotten. Harper shakes her head. I did not do anything exceptional, General. I did what the situation required. That is exactly what makes it exceptional. He gestures toward the case and its contents. Most people see a situation like this and calculate the personal cost of involvement. They ask themselves what they have to gain, what they might lose, whether the risk justifies the action. You did not calculate. You moved. Calculation takes time. Harper allows herself a small smile. Those trainees did not have time. General Griggs joins them, tablet in hand, already coordinating the investigation that will consume the coming weeks. Chief Lane, your assessment of the sabotage was accurate in every detail. The modifications you identified, water sensors, lock systems, drainage conduits, all of them appear in these documents as deliberate changes designed to create failure conditions. He shows her the tablet. A side-by-side comparison displays the original specifications alongside the modified versions. The differences are subtle but systematic, small adjustments that individually might escape notice but collectively transform a safety system into a trap. Whoever designed this understood the equipment intimately. They knew exactly which modifications would produce the desired outcome, while remaining plausible as maintenance errors or calibration drift. Harper studies the comparison. Inside knowledge, someone with technical access and enough time to implement changes without triggering review protocols. The contractor, General Ross confirms. Marcus Webb. His company held the maintenance contract for this facility for the past 2 years. He had access to every system, every schedule, every vulnerability, and someone above him providing protection. Harper indicates the photograph still resting on the console. The contractor did not build this network alone. He had cover. He had connections. He had confidence that even if something went wrong, the evidence would disappear and the investigation would go nowhere. General Ross nods. Which is why this case changes everything. They planned for equipment failure. They planned for casualties. They planned for the usual pattern. Tragedy, investigation, inconclusive findings. Everyone moves on. She picks up the photograph and examines it again. They did not plan for you. The next 3 hours unfold with the controlled intensity of a military operation. NCIS agents arrive and establish a command post in the conference room. Evidence technicians document every item in the case. Communication specialists secure the facility's networks against potential data destruction. Harper provides her statement to a lead investigator who takes detailed notes and asks clarifying questions, with the thoroughness of someone who recognizes the significance of what he is documenting. The 6 trainees receive medical evaluation and psychological screening. Specialist Coleman, the team leader, specifically requests to speak with Harper before being released. They meet in the corridor outside the medical station. Coleman still wears the thermal blanket draped over her shoulders, her hair damp from the flooding chamber, her eyes carrying the particular alertness that follows a close encounter with death. Chief Lane, I wanted to thank you personally. Harper shakes her head. You do not need to thank me. You handled yourself well in there, kept your team calm, followed protocols, did not panic when panic would have been understandable. I almost did panic, Coleman's voice drops. When the water hit chest level and the locks would not open, I thought we were going to die in a training exercise, the stupidest possible way to go. But you did not panic. You held position, maintained communication, gave your team something to focus on besides fear. Harper meets her eyes. That is not nothing, specialist. That is exactly what separates people who survive from people who do not. Coleman absorbs the words. Something in her expression shifts, the shock of near death beginning to transform into something more complex. They are saying it was sabotage, that someone wanted the demonstration to fail. That appears to be accurate. Why? The question carries genuine bewilderment. Why would anyone want to kill trainees? What possible purpose does that serve? Harper considers her answer carefully. The full scope of the conspiracy is not something she can or should share with someone still processing trauma, but Coleman deserves enough truth to make sense of what happened to her. Sometimes people become so focused on what they want, money, power, avoiding consequences, that other people stop being real to them. They become numbers on a spreadsheet, acceptable losses in a calculation that prioritizes personal gain over everything else. She places a hand on Coleman's shoulder. What happened today matters because it exposed people who thought that they could treat military personnel as expendable. Your survival is not just personal, it is evidence. It proves that the system they built to fail can be beaten by people who refuse to accept failure as inevitable. Coleman straightens. The blanket falls from her shoulders, and she does not move to retrieve it. I want to help. With the investigation, with whatever comes next. I want to make sure whoever did this answers for it. Harper nods. Then rest tonight. Process what happened. Talk to the counselors they will assign you. And when you are ready, tell your story clearly and completely to whoever asks. That is how you help. The evening sun casts long shadows across the base as Harper finally exits the main building. The facility that hummed with crisis 6 hours ago now operates under the controlled tension of an active investigation. Personnel moving with purpose. Conversations conducted in careful tones. The awareness that nothing here will ever be quite the same. General Ramirez waits near the entrance, 2 cups of coffee in his hands. Thought you might need this. Harper accepts the cup. The warmth seeps into her fingers, counteracting the residual chill that never quite left her body after the underwater rescue. Thank you, General. Diego. He takes a sip of his own coffee. After today, I think we have moved past formalities. They stand in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and purple. The ocean beyond the base glitters with reflected light, serene and indifferent to the human drama that unfolded within sight of its waters. Can I ask you something, Saint? Of course. Why did you not say anything? When Kessler was mocking you, when the room was laughing, when you could have ended his performance with 3 words, why did you stay silent? Harper considers the question. It deserves a real answer. Because silence reveals more than confrontation. When I walked into that room this morning, I did not know if the problems I was sensing were incompetence or malice. Kessler's attitude told me something important. He was more concerned with appearance than substance. That made him vulnerable to manipulation by people who understood his weaknesses. She takes a sip of coffee. If I had announced myself immediately, the dynamic would have changed. People would have been on their best behavior. Problems would have been hidden rather than displayed. By staying quiet, I saw the facility as it actually operates, not the version they would have shown a Medal of Honor recipient. Ramirez shakes his head slowly. Most people would have enjoyed watching him squirm when the truth came out. You did not even flinch. Enjoyment was not the objective. Harper watches a pair of seabirds arc across the darkening sky. Understanding was, and I understood enough to know that when the demonstration started going wrong, it was not going to stop on its own. You saved 6 lives today, probably prevented dozens more by exposing that network before they could target other facilities. Maybe Harper's voice carries the particular weight of someone who has learned not to claim victories prematurely. Or maybe they have other operations we have not found yet. Other facilities, other contracts, other points of failure waiting to be triggered. That sounds like you are planning to keep looking. Harper turns to face him. The dying sunlight illuminates the lines of her face. Exhaustion, determination, and something else. A grief that never fully fades, carried like a weight she has learned to bear rather than set down. There is a reason I requested this assignment, Diego. Risk assessment for special training operations. It sounds administrative, bureaucratic, the kind of job someone takes when they want to coast toward retirement. She finishes her coffee and sets the empty cup on a nearby railing. But it gives me access to facilities, to systems, to the places where corners get cut and safety gets sacrificed for convenience or profit. Every base I visit, every program I review, I am looking for the same thing. The gap between what is supposed to happen and what actually happens. The space where people like Webb and his associates operate. Ramirez studies her with the appraising eye of someone who has commanded operators in high-stakes environments. You are hunting. I am protecting. Harper shakes her head. Hunting implies I am looking for enemies. I am looking for weaknesses, places where the system fails and people die because someone decided their lives were worth less than the cost of doing things correctly. And when you find those weaknesses, I fix them, or I expose the people who created them, or both. She meets his gaze. Today was both. The base loudspeakers crackle to life. An announcement echoes across the facility. All demonstration activities suspended indefinitely, pending completion of safety review. Personnel assigned to affected programs will receive updated schedules within 48 hours. Harper listens to the words. They represent the beginning of accountability, the first concrete consequence of the day's events. More will follow. Investigations, hearings, prosecutions, policy changes. The network that built its success on acceptable losses will face the reality that some losses refuse to be acceptable, but she knows better than to celebrate premature victories. General Ross approaches from the main building, tablet in hand, expression grim. We have a problem, Harper straightens. What kind of problem? The man in the photograph, the one Kessler said had connections that went higher than we could touch. We ran his image through federal databases. Ross shows them the tablet. He does not exist. No military record, no government employment history, no contractor credentials. The face matches no one in any system we can access. A ghost, Ramirez's voice carries an edge. Someone operating under deep cover or false identity, or someone who has been systematically erased from records that should be permanent. Ross looks at Harper, which suggests resources and access beyond what a simple contractor network would possess. Harper takes the tablet and studies the photograph again. The man in civilian clothes stares back at her, with eyes that reveal nothing. A face designed to be forgotten, attached to a presence that apparently never officially existed. He is the key. Webb is the operator, Kessler is the compromised authority, but this man, he is the one who makes the network function. Remove him, and the whole structure loses its protection. Easier said than done when we do not know who he is or where to find him. We know where he has been. Harper indicates the photograph. This image was taken somewhere. That building has a location. Webb had contact with him, which means communication records might exist despite precautions. And Kessler may know more than he realizes, details that seemed insignificant at the time, but become meaningful in context. She hands the tablet back to Ross. The investigation is just starting. Evidence leads to more evidence. Networks unravel when you pull the right threads. Ross nods slowly. You sound like you have done this before. I have spent the last 18 months visiting facilities exactly like this one. Reviewing safety protocols, identifying vulnerabilities, writing reports that sometimes get read and sometimes get filed. Harper pauses. This is the first time I have found something this organized, this deliberate, this dangerous. And the first time someone almost died because of what you found. No, Harper's voice carries the weight of memory. Not the first time, just the first time I was able to prevent it. The silence that follows holds space for questions that do not need to be asked. Every person present understands what Harper carries, the weight of losses that cannot be undone, balanced against the lives saved today because she refused to accept that some failures are inevitable. General Ramirez breaks the silence with a practical question. What happens now? For you, I mean. After the investigation, after the reports, after all of this settles into official record. Harper looks toward the ocean. The last light of sunset fades into purple twilight, stars beginning to appear in the darkening sky. There are other facilities, other programs, other places where someone decided that safety costs too much and people cost too little. She turns back to face them. I keep looking, I keep finding, and when I find something like this again, because I will find something like this again, I make sure it ends differently than it was designed to end. She reaches into her pocket and removes the Medal of Honor that General Ramirez held for her during the rescue. The gold star catches the last rays of sunlight, gleaming against the blue ribbon. This does not make me special. It makes me responsible. 11 people came home from a mission that should have killed all of us because circumstances aligned in our favor, and I happened to be in position to act. The one person who did not come home, her voice catches for just a moment before steadying. He would have done the same thing. Better, probably. He was always better at the technical parts, the precise movements, the calculations under pressure. I just kept moving when everything said to stop. She pins the medal back into her chest pocket, hidden from casual view. So, I keep moving. Because stopping means accepting that the people who build these networks, who treat military personnel as acceptable losses, who design systems to fail when no one is watching, stopping means accepting that they win, and I cannot accept that. General Ross extends her hand. Chief Lane, it has been an honor working with you today. I hope our paths cross again under better circumstances. Harper shakes the offered hand. Likewise, General, take care of those documents. They represent a lot of people's futures, including some who do not know yet that they are in danger. We will protect the evidence, and we will follow it wherever it leads. The generals depart toward their waiting vehicles, leaving Harper alone in the gathering darkness. The base settles into evening routine around her, lights coming on in buildings, personnel heading toward meal facilities, the rhythms of military life continuing despite the day's disruptions. She walks toward the temporary quarters assigned to visiting assessment personnel. Her body aches from the underwater rescue, muscles protesting the sustained exertion, lungs still remembering the pressure of shared breaths in a flooding chamber. But her mind remains sharp, processing the day's information, cataloging details that might become relevant as the investigation progresses. The man in the photograph, the ghost with no official existence. He represents something larger than a single sabotage training facility, a capability and a willingness that suggests other operations, other targets, other acceptable casualties waiting to happen. Harper reaches her quarters and pauses at the door. From her pocket, she removes the dog tag that she carried throughout the day. Not her own, but his. The name stamped in metal belongs to someone who will never wear it again. She holds it for a moment, feeling the familiar weight, the edges worn smooth from years of contact. I found another one today. She speaks quietly to someone who cannot hear. Another place where they decided people did not matter. Another system designed to fail when convenient. The dog tag catches the light from a nearby lamp. 6 people are alive tonight because I would not let it happen again. That is not enough. It will never be enough to balance what we lost, but it is something. She enters her quarters and closes the door behind her. On the desk inside, her tablet displays a new message, a notification from the assignment system. Another facility has requested a safety assessment. Another program with concerning metrics. Another opportunity to find what should not be found. Harper reads the details. A training center in the southwestern region. Equipment maintenance contract held by a subsidiary of a company she recognizes from today's documents. Recent reports of minor malfunctions that individually mean nothing but together suggest a pattern. She begins drafting her acceptance of the assignment. Outside, the ocean continues its eternal rhythm against the shore. The base settles into nighttime operations. And somewhere in the network, that thought today's demonstration would end in tragedy and disappeared evidence. Someone receives news that their carefully constructed plan has failed. The investigation will spread. Names will emerge. Connections will be exposed. The ghost in the photograph will find that ghosts can be hunted by people who refuse to believe in their invisibility. Harper finishes her message and sends it into the digital void. The response comes within minutes. Assignment confirmed, travel authorized, access credentials issued. She sets the tablet aside and prepares for whatever rest she can manage. Tomorrow begins early. The next facility waits. The next potential failure waits to be found before it claims lives. The work continues. Because justice is not loud, it is patient. And Harper Lane has learned to be very, very patient.
She was quiet. They looked at her. But she was the strongest person in the room. This is why we never judge people too far. Restraint is quiet. Subscribe for more stories like this. Comment your thoughts below and share it with a veteran you know. Stay strong. See you soon in the next story.